Welcome back, everybody. The lights are flashing, but it's not a live stream. Welcome back to another one of these right here. It's C.A.B.S. It's C.A.B.S. episode 3. As followers of the series, followers of the channel, will certainly remember that in C.A.B.S. episode 2, Gary Musey, our man Gary Musey here ran, and Gary Musey did not do well. Gary Musey was in effectively a stock configuration, stock as he is built out of a MEUS Goldrush chassis, axles, I want to say link set. This is the MEUS Goldrush chassis mounted steering. He did not do well. He felt violently oversprung. It just unpredictable. But he had these little glimmers of, oh, he can do it. He can pull the line. So the way that this series has run up till this point, and the way that it will probably continue to run into the future, is the rig, not the rig that does better, is in next week's episode. The rig that doesn't do as well, because we have tune time in between. And Gary Musey got the tune time. All 4 rear links changed out. Shocks changed out. We moved the link mounting positions in the rear as well as changing them. Lengthened his wheelbase from 322 to just a hair under 330. It's like 328 and a half. So picked up about 5 millimeters in the rear, which moved the axle back far enough that there's usually a little, he's got a little skid guy up here in the front. There's usually an accompanying skid plate in the back, but it goes right where the link mount point on the axle goes. Still going to run out on the megalithics. I believe we went to the full size F10 portal knuckle weight in the front, the big heavy brass ones. So he should be having even more weight in the front. It should have moved his overall weight lower. Wheelbase is longer. We've addressed hopefully, and much softer sprung, and went from a 100 millimeter shock to a 90 millimeter shock. So everything should be conducive to performance. Has he been tested? Nay. That is what C.A.B.S. is for. He has not even been out of the building. Unfortunately for Gary Musey, fortunately or unfortunately, and signs point to unfortunately, his competitor, his competition for the day has prompted him to throw the protest flag before we even begin. This is the Mullet, Mullet is its name. I got the idea in my head that I wanted to build an all-vanquish mullet. F10 straight front with the BTA and a stubby F10 portal rear. And then you find out that the only way to flip the gear to run a reverse gear back here is to turn the third member upside down. And I did not want to do that, nor would I do that, nor will I do that. And before we get into how he manages to accomplish being an all-vanquish mullet without flipping the pinion housing, you would notice the tire should look somewhat familiar to you. Yes, they are ruptures. Why is he not running on the megalithics like everybody else? Because these tires on their offsets with the wheels and the inserts this guy is tuned. So it is highly unlikely that he will undergo a tune process in between C.A.B.S. 3 and C.A.B.S. 4. What I'm saying is Gary Musey is going to have to shock and awe out there to not come out behind Mullet, because Mullet is here today because he is testing a variety of new items. So he is as unrun as Gary Musey is, relatively speaking. The AGFRC A.53 BULW is in place. I saw it. I said, I don't need it, but at the same time, I have to have it. It is a half-height 4S Direct 34 kg rated servo, and 34 kg in a behind the axle setup is more than enough. It's about just a hair shy of 500 ounces. 35 kg is basically 500 ounces. So we're just a little shy of 500 ounces, more than enough. And in further defense of the inclusion of ruptures. These are fitted with an insert called scoric clings, which, if you notice, this rupture appears very wide. And if you're familiar with ruptures, it also appears very short. Very short to the point where it is, in fact, shorter than a stock megalithic. Megalithic sitting about 120 millimeters tall. These now stand 118. So, is it marked on the sidewall? No! So what we're doing is the best kind of legal, technically legal. If it was marked on the sidewall that it was, say, 5 inches tall, by some ruling bodies that would not be acceptable for competition in an unsanctioned, we make the rules up as we go along, class 2 merciless battle. I took his wheel off so that I could show you that it is within height. It is legal technically. So, what you do is you build yourself a what I call a gender changer. So the output of the gearbox has a pinion attached to it, and then that turns a pinion that the shaft is attached to, and this reverses the direction of the rear drive shaft so that they all rotate in the same direction. So he has been converted to 4S with the A.53. He has a ridiculous amount of steering angle. It is a Zoku ZRD chassis for VRD, with, of course, the portal axle in the rear. The stubby kit with a Rhino S12 1470, just being powered up on 4S. The big heavy KYX knuckle weights in the front. They are alike, but also quite dissimilar. We have dueling wheelbases. I want to say they are within 1 or 2 millimeters in terms of wheelbase. Wheel track is within 1 or 2 millimeters. And he does indeed run a full body. He runs the boat. Once you realize that on a top-down view, yes, the Vanquish stance body is indeed a boat. We have a boat versus Gary MEUS. I don't bother to go through the full weighing, the scalings, the balancing. Not on these two guys, because I effectively canyon changed them both. Weight has been moved around a lot for both. So C.A.B.S 3 is definitely a more fly by the seat of our pants than even the ordinary. I had to write it on a whiteboard. We will go to the 5 stations, the 5 points, the 5 points of C.A.B.S, the big side hill. We will do the double tying of the knot at Oblivion. We go to the front 9 and we hit gates 4 and 5. We go to Hannah, Montana, where we do 2 lines, including the impossible waterfall, and we finish with the 3 lines, well, we'll call it 3.5, plus descents at Mount Tumbledore. I feel like today will be the closest, hopefully, because what I am hoping above all else is that the changes made to Gary MEUS will be impactful positively, and at the same time hoping that the changes... He ran a 60 kg flash hobby up front, a full height, and I had to space it way up. So even though that weight was unsprung, it was much higher. And even with big spacers, the servo hung down below the axle, and it does not now. That servo is also quite fast. So this is a little insight. As we're flying by the seat of our pants, we offer unnecessary and unrequested disclosures, which is, I find these installments to be extremely helpful. These episodes are probably more for me than they are for you, because you'll never see the differences. You'll never be able to discern, well, but I don't know, until you run them side by side right at the same time. Because when you do your best effort to hit a line exactly the same with 2 rigs back to back, you can see visually, you can feel the difference. How is the front end reacting on one versus the other? How are they? And again, similar, different. This is the boiled down essence of why this aspect of this niche of this hobby is so great to me. They can be very close, but wildly different in terms of performance. Or they can be very similar in terms of performance, but very different in the ways that they get there. So it's never a bad day when we're running a C.A.B.S series. It's not going to be a bad day today. It's going to be great. And I will meet you right out there with these two gentlemen after I figure out the rest of the battery situation and then trudge all the stuff out there. So join me for the 5 points, and we'll see who edges the other out.
Ordinarily, what I say is if you're having a good day and you want to ruin it, go to a side hill. So we begin instead with the side hill. And we have determined that, I mean, there's no unfairness. There's nothing untoward. We've determined that the mullet, which on the drive back, I was like, I keep forgetting that it's a Mullet ZRD. A Mullet ZRD, a Muzzrd. I think he might be the Muzzrd. Like buzzard, but with an M, like the Muzzrd. What kind of lift are we going to get? How about none? In terms of side hill performance, I mean, you've got to do, what's the dumbest thing you can think of to do? Because if we just take a normal approach to the side hill, let's get really low. There we go. Almost falling off the edge. It doesn't matter. There's zero lightness through there. This is why this is somewhat unfair on the day, because we have a setup that is mostly done. Like that guy is a 98%. There might be some small changes that need to be made. I can't isolate him. So part of the reason he's here today is to determine whether or not I see anything that I think needs changing. So he has there's a lot of advantages. Gary is looking so much flatter through here, and yes, indeed. The difference in feel across that move, let's not forget, single stage open cell, which maximize forward drive, but kind of sacrifice everything else. How about right here? Look at that. Look at that. That's so good. Element factory team shocks are fantastic. And there was a time here in the land of toy cars that go slow where you could buy a thing called the Builder's Kit 2, which was basically, it felt like stealing, because you got a Stealth X, you got factory team shocks, and you got a pair of Element axles. And the cost of those 3 items together, purchased independently, cost more than what the Builder's Kit 2 cost. So everything else you got was just bonus stuff. Then they took it away from us because we're not allowed to have nice things. Profit margin wasn't high enough, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the decisions were. Not a millimeter of lift. This is straight wash. I would take either of them. Standard approach line. Gets into that little hole. Can we maneuver out? Yes. Testing continues into the future. That's where the time keeps on slipping. Is there a drawback to the mullet that exists beyond the initial? The initial drawback to the mullet is you get to do way more math than you want to do to try to arrive at the final overdrive underdrive split that you desire. I wanted around 20%, notes and did not want to flip my third member in the back, and I wanted to run a VFD. So I had, again, gone with something like right there. The rear axle hangs on anybody that isn't Portal, but his doesn't. So I had to fiddle with Portal gears. I had to fiddle with overdrive and underdrive in the rings, all of it, and then get the reverse. Spirit of the Forest. It's not going to come into frame with that. Oh, maybe camera 2 caught Spirit of the Forest for a second. It just hangs out and yells in the yard. So once you get past that, like performance-wise, is there a drawback to straight axle front and Portal axle rear? Well, we keep looking for it, and we have not yet found it. How high can we stand it up? All the way up, because it's a straight axle front. Okay, I needed to be right there. It's crazy responsive. And it wasn't my first time trying to build a mullet, and I think I got it most right here. Well, Zoku ZRD is definitely helping. I didn't have to, that was math I didn't have to do. And do you remember the half mention? We're in a tacit quick view. I cut back too far, but we can correct it. No, don't you get it. Don't you get it. Look at it, set right back down. Almost knocked that yellow one off. I didn't have to do any geometry homework, which is fantastic. I just had to do gearing mess about and then figure out how to reverse a drive shaft's rotation out of a VFD. But, man, I do like it. I do like it. And it went a long time without a name, and I think it got a name today. Just got to find the spot. Got to find the spot right there. There is definitely because Gary is not remarkably heavy, they're both very close in weight. I would want to say just under 6 pounds for the two of them in a sort of 575 area. I can feel the springiness on return from those single stages. But that hold right there, we're not suffering due to those single stages. As a matter of fact, there have been a couple moments in transition, see how we pivot across it, real wide. There have been a couple moments in transition where I do indeed notice the strength that our good friend foam has over our good friend extruded filament, which is 3D printed inserts are effectively segmented. So there are veins in them, and if you get in between those veins, like if they're wrapping around a rock, when that vein clears the rock, you kind of go up. There's like a little speed bump inside the tire, and it kind of goes up. Foam does not do that. And I think that this is why we learn as we go. Sometimes we don't know that we're analyzing, but we're analyzing. This is why I like the Canyon Custom, which is the solid foam inner, the dual stage foam inner from a regular with fridge mat on the inside. Yeah, there is still, Mullet, the Muzzrd, has less of an advantage than I thought that he would. If your rig can function and operate and side hill and do all of the things on a single stage foam, just run that. They work great right up until they don't. And I have not seen a moment here today that they have not worked. Maybe I've got a little bit of endpoint that I've got to dial in, because the A.53, yes, we are only part of the way into our shebang here, but that A.53 in the Muzzrd is great. Okay, that wasn't his knock. That ball was all the way off. Again, I would call it a wash, but respect where respect is due. I would put the edge to Gary Musey on that, because there was a feel that I don't know if it was translated imagery-wise, but he felt more just, ugh. I can't think of the adjective. He was more consistent. There was a consistency. Every once in a while, the mullet would get a little blip, blip, blip. I never felt Gary Musey do that. He felt completely solid all the way through. So I'm not saying I'm not a 4S convert. I don't know if what we're looking at is explicitly 4S stuff, but that servo is 4S direct, and its numbers that it makes on 3S are not that enticing. So I knew I wanted to go to a 4S conversion. That is mullet stuff right there. If you can get the front axle through, you're basically guaranteed. You know the rear axle is going to make it. Now, with a portal, full portal, which is what we're going to see here, will we see any lightness in the nose because the front end starts off higher up? No. No. Okay. A little bit better breakover on the Zoku geometry compared to the MEUS. Wheelbase is almost identical. Ground clearance technically better on the MEUS. I would put that, because of the little catch and hangs in the middle, that's a dead wash. I was gonna say in the initial part of the approach, edge to the MEUS, but across the totality, absolute wash. All right, we'll do mullet first. I have to keep telling myself, whenever I get near gates, I instinctively stop using reverse. Nice little puff of dust there. Get that front end over. Bad approach. I'm kind of sticking with it. Now, kind of got the hip locked in. Okay, that's real high on entry. Too high. Too high. Ooh, are we gonna swing back? No, I just had to find the spot. Okay, out onto the front, right across there. Oh my goodness. A little tough on entry, but through the middle, genuinely. Might as well just be driving on flat ground. That was so flat. 3 tries to get the entry. Gary Musey can swing an edge back if he doesn't require 3 tries on entry. And getting to go second is somewhat of an advantage. Hook across the top, cuts back. Okay, need to get him even a little tighter. Oh, yeah, yep. Okay, all right. Okay, so it definitely appears that a full portal entry is easier there. Yeah, he kind of has a little drop down. Oh, all right, low side. Redeem yourself if you can pull this back. That's gonna knock it. Doesn't matter. I don't want to see the fall. Nope. Man, Gary killed that. I can't get, so I got real high, Gary Musey, and I hooked right there. Yeah. This is the old tightrope. Yeah. Entry, easier on the Goldrush. Through the middle, way easier on the Muzzrd. Descending, it's close, but I think the single stage are fighting against Gary a little bit. All right, we get into the toughest of the stuff now. And honestly, it's either a straight wash or slight advantage to, much to my surprise, the Goldrush. The great part about this is I don't have to figure it out. The rocks will do that for me. Coming up. I feel like this is the stuff where if Muzzrd is going to have an advantage, it's here. Because it's easier to keep the nose down, got wide. I can be more mistake making, especially here. Okay, so front end is planted down more and it's 3D printed insert, so they're gonna hold the side up better. It's not gonna collapse as much, if at all. Yeah. All right. On the descent, trying to hook it a little bit. That's a nice pinstriper there. A little bit down. Yeah, you can watch the rear end just settle, settle, settle. Nope. Oh, nope. That's not a good noise. You can't ordinarily make a noise like that and have something not die. So I'm happy that we're still mechanically intact. A little bit more. There you go. Yeah, a megalithic on a stock foam has a lot of forward drive. Okay, rear comes clear. Ooh. I feel some lightness. I feel some lightness. It came on really late. I hung in longer than I should have. All right, impossible waterfall. Okay, all four wheels are still turning, so we didn't grenade anything, I don't think. Ooh, that was close. I think that's too far. No, that's that's definitely too far right. The margin of error up through this is less than half the width of a tire, for sure. 25 millimeters would be, maybe there's a little mullet drawback right there. Although if we were a straight axle, we would have gotten stuck, but we wouldn't have been able to clear the rear end through. So again, still hunting for that mullet specific drawback. Okay, stay across that top. We want to stay more left, get over that hook right there. And what we want to see, well, what we want to see is what we don't want to see. We don't want to see it relax back right. That was a drop, but it wasn't a big one. A little bit there, a little bit there. I feel like we've already fallen a little too far back right. Oh, now we're, yeah, there it goes. Yeah. It will just reject you. So this is wide open for Mr. Musey. Here's your chance. You get a couple. You get a couple chances. We're not one and done. Unless you won it and done it. Beep. Whew, man, the waterfall makes me get up a lot. Getting my steps in. Okay, came in too far left. All right. Okay. Okay. There's that front raise. Because we're catching side lug. Ooh. Yee, that's the usual. Rear gets bound under, and because we have so much forward drive from the single stage, it is really working against us here. Come on, set it down, set it down, set it down. I need that driver rear up about the length of a tire. Right there, right there, right there. Stay on it, stay in it, stay in it, stay in it. No, 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 put it back down. The waterfall suffers no fools. Okay, one more clean one. Let's clear our heads, shoot it around, come in. Okay, stay more across this face to try not to bury that driver rear. Let's stay up there, okay. Cut it back, right there, right there, right there, right there. Do not fall back. Don't fall in. Catch it. Over the lip. It's pushing. Brutal. Call it the impossible waterfall for a reason. Advantage? Honestly, I felt like we could get deeper into the waterfall with Gary, but the across the face up at the top, and the clear of the edge to the right hand was definitely mullet advantage. So again, I would put it right down the middle. I don't even know if we're sitting at advantage right now. It might just be dead even heading to Tumbledore. I don't think either of these fellas need the easy line. I'll go straight to the left-hander. Again, that seems like mullet advantage stuff. We're at the limits of traction, but no geometry weirdness. Stick all the way fence side. No, that's clean up. That's clean up. That's going to be tough to match, honestly. Coming down through the descent line. Again, mullet right there, easier on the clearance. Oh! Got a little out of shape there on the descent. Oh, look, some rusty beadlock screws on the ground. I gotta use my rolling magnet again. See how many beadlock screws and body clips I can find. Actually, might have felt a little more drive. Single stage foams. Everybody sleeps on single stage foams. Am I gonna put single stage foams in my trail rig that I drive through lakes in? No, God no. But if I can get away with a foam, I'm gonna get away with a foam. There's a reason Crawler Innovations is still in business. Oh, I gotta say it. I gotta say it. You're feeling it. Gary. Back to advantage, Gary. Gary looking sharp on the day. Center cut. There's a beam of sunlight. We wanna cut that beam right through there. The closer we are right there, driver front. Stay on it. There's really no transfer back. Oh yeah. Get it. Wow. That was oh. Pendulum swinging. Gary, you got good grief. Mullet just showed you why he runs half straights and half portals. On the entry, calm it down. Right there, up on the side. Ooh, it's a little wide. A single stage foam is the best you can get in terms of forward drive right until it betrays you. Okay, we're getting some hop, which means we've got weight transfer to the rear in excess of what we want to see. He can really hold nose high, but I can feel the, yep, there it is. Tumbledore does what Tumbledore do. He can get up in there. Oh, there's that little, get it. Nope. It's just too light. It's just, yeah, he stays a little high. Again, in fairness, how many of you and how quickly did it happen when you forgot that Gary Musey is chassis mounted steering? He is holding his own against Mullet BTA stubby VFD. That's a lot of tools to wield against a guy. I have said before, and I will maintain today, that as of this recording, the MEUS Goldrush chassis paired with the MEUS nylon axles, which is what Gary Musey is, might be the best value on the market. They are, they being the industry, are in a protracted campaign of kit denial. People don't want kits, they want the convenience of RTRs. Nay, sir, nay. It is thee who wants the convenience of RTRs. You want to sell us a product that requires upgrades. OOTB. Out of the box, you don't get something worth the money you spend. Both of the rigs before you are built to be the way they are. In terms of parts replacement, well, I mean, I don't think, there's no kit mullets out there. Well, Otzik's Wizard, still, as of this recording, not on the market, but it will be a kit mullet. You can build it as a mullet. You need to get more. The mullet is really struggling here. There it is. Just had side lug. Side lug, much like a single stage foam, is your friend right up until it isn't. And from my perspective, the number of instances where side lug will operate against you negatively is really vastly outnumbered by instances where side lug is going to help you. We got to find a much more particular entry line for Gary here across the pole. Suspension is really being kind to us. Again, factory teams. That feels a little more solid. Are we going to have to use our little bump again? I think so. So the bump, it isn't just about the bump. It's about being able to maintain it, about to hold on to the advance that you just made. And you'll note, he does like a little, he does a little leg kick, but he stays planted down. Get more fence side if you've got to. So a little bouncer on the way down, no problem. Full cut there, across the pole. Honestly, I feel the breech on, just a straight wash. You've got to approach it very differently with the two of them. They both get right there. I can't get as fence side. I think a little bit of Geo, a little bit of VFD versus a more conventional skid layout. I can't find the spot where the Goldrush is like, yeah, that's my line. Oh, I broke him. That's why. Well, he was doing really good for being broken. Full shear. Full shear at the skid end. You know what my favorite thing in the world is? And I'm not saying this. This is not me being facetious. I am not. This is not irony. I love breaking a rod end because rod ends are so plentiful. Like if you buy a set of links, they give you rod ends. You buy rod ends in 20 packs, 30 packs, 50 packs. Rod ends, let's call them 10 cents. Let's say every rod end costs a dime. I would much rather have a breakage that is 10 cents than break anything else. I don't count that rod snappage, which is a 3-minute repair. I don't consider that a negative against Gary or the MEUS or anything involved. Not even me. I was being a bit of a hoon. Look at that. That's front wheels in the air. Is there an advantage to the mullet over a full-time portal and a full-time straight axle? I would I would go to a point to make an argument that versus a full-time straight axle, I think the mullet has advantages, right in there, has advantages all the time. I don't think that there's an explicit drawback of a mullet against double straight axles. I think that there are indeed, and I think we saw it in some moments, there are indeed moments that are advantageous to just a full portal. There's more clearance. The front end has more clearance. Sometimes it's difficult to get that front end over. But I don't think that there's any drawback exclusive to a mullet setup other than the work that goes into actually setting it up. So I think Gary more than held his own. I think because we were coming in to this final obstacle with it pretty much even, I would probably say advantage on the day to the mullet. But that puts me in an odd position for C.A.B.S 4. I think C.A.B.S 4 might just be fresh. We might pick 2 other guys out of the fleet and run them together. Maybe I'll do a poll. Maybe I'll try a poll again, you know, and we'll see who runs in the next installment. I'm trying to do these like one a week. I really enjoy this. And in looking at them now in the closing moments, I'm thinking, like, what exactly would I change? I don't know. They both did really well. Gary Musey could be taken to a bit of a higher level if we took the servo off the chassis. I don't want to do that. To me, pure, if that is a thing, Class 2 is chassis mounted steering. Hello? Hi? That one, the spirit of the forest is definitely camera shy. So, I can relate. So, thank you so much for joining us for this installment of C.A.B.S. If there was something that I didn't see that was shining out to you and you did see, in the comments below, what's the matter, bud? He's just looking around and yelling. He's got his big floofy tail and he's just yelling. Thank you so much once again, everybody. I will see you in the next one. I invite you to come back to see that next one. And in between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We will see you again here from the canyon, hopefully sooner than later, with more C.A.B.S, with more of whatever. I love this stuff. In some instances, man, I'm really trying to break them both today. In some instances, comparison is the death of joy, and in some other instances, like C.A.B.S, for instance, comparison helps us all, hopefully all, move forward. So keep on keeping on, everybody. We will see you in the next one.